When people ask me how long it'll take to learn guitar, I often tell them 5 minutes and the rest of your life. Within a couple of minutes of playing, you can play a song. And even a rock song. And even some chords. But then it will go on and on and on forever from there. Basically, what you'll keep learning is that the more you learn, the more you'll find out there's more to learn. As you've probably seen, I'm taking this pretty much on a need-to-know basis and building everything up one little step at a time and then trying to apply it someplace. What I want to do today is get you to that dreaded F chord, but I'm going to go through a G chord first. Here we have our C. I won't review all the steps to getting to it now. There it is, a 5-string chord on this diagonal line. Hopefully you've followed along since the beginning. If not, I would highly recommend and ask that you go back and follow everything from the beginning. It's all in the beginning guitar playlist. So I take this C, and one way we can think of the G7 is as a telescoped version of this. The pointer, which is on the 2nd string, moves to the 1st, and these two are pushed down to the 6th and 5th strings. So C is a collapsed version of the diagonal line. G7's the widest possible version. I've drawn your G chord in here too. When I showed it to you, I started with this G, applied the low G note, added the pointer on the 5th string. Sometimes you'll be shown this chord using other fingers with your pointer finger free. When I saw this one introduced to me in books, I refused to do it. I already knew one I liked. I was used to getting to it and I felt strong. In this one, I feel very weak, but it does have its purposes as well. You could find it by playing C, telescoping to G7, leaving these two fingers where they are, removing the pointer and putting the pinky on the 1st string. So there's G, pinky, replaced by pointer, G7, collapse into C. When I started using that G a lot more, I had songs that had tons of C's and G's. One way I like to play them is I'd put the pinky on the C chord and use that to anchor me into the G chord. So then what I see is this little diagonal line is starting to move up and down the guitar neck. I've got it on C and G7, bring it back to C, and now for the dreaded F, these two notes can go on to the 4th and 3rd strings. And there's your F chord. Beautiful little move, fading me back to C. So my pointer remained on the 2nd string. The diagonal notes that were on C and E on the 5th and 4th strings moved to F and A on the 4th and 3rd. Your garden variety chord chart will not tell you about this F. Notice I'm carefully playing only 3 strings, the ones my fingers are on, 4th, 3rd, and 2nd. As you're learning, you could leave this 1st string open and get a beautiful jazzy chord called the F major 7. That will only fit your songs a small percentage of the time though. If you like the sound, use it, but we do have to learn how to get rid of that high note and play the proper F. What makes it difficult is the pointer finger does this tiny little bar where it leans on 2 strings. And then you apply these notes. Or you have these 2 notes and lay this one down. That's your basic version of F. A compromise for that as a beginner guitar student, you can play the 3 good notes and try to play that note, get a little bit of a clunk, and work toward getting your bar. That's option 1. Another option is to take your C chord and instead of moving the ring finger with the middle finger, move the middle finger, but use the pinky to add on that diagonal note on the 4th string. So here I've got the C note on the 5th string still, this E note, the finger moves to the next string for the A, and the pinky fills in the middle. This is another chord I refused to do when I encountered it. I already knew this F. I was used to going to it, and I was good at it, so why learn this one? Well, it turns out for the same reason. If I'm alternating lots and lots of C's and F's, it turned out to be a really nice version. The ring finger stays anchored, the pointer stays anchored, the middle finger moves, and the pinky is added. So there's your F. C. Technically, this pointer is still lying down on 2 strings. But because you have these nice 4 strings in the middle, we don't worry so much about that top one. If I don't get it, I don't worry about it. I just hit these middle 4 strings. So I found a lot of people who were having a lot of trouble with this chord preferred this one. I was surprised. They felt stronger and the chord felt fuller to them. So I've started to introduce it to people fairly early on. Notice I've waited 21 lessons for this. This could be many months in your playing before you ever find out about the F chord, and then I presume another 6 months before you're playing it well. So don't worry about it. One thing I don't like about playing songs with people in F is they'll play all their chords quite well and with good confidence, and then the F just bottoms us out. So you'll hear something like C, A minor, G. I can never get my F. C, A minor, G. F. When you're practicing a song, if it has Fs, don't stop and fight with it. If it sounds clunky, let it clunk. So here I would play that song again with a bad F. Try to make sure I get a bad F. Try and improve a little while I'm playing. Do the best you can during your songs. Then in your practice, work on getting the exact details right. So 2 or 3 things I'd like to do. One is trim these chords down to just their essentials. Just like we learned the chords once from the top end, now I'd like to learn them from the bottom end. Play your 2 notes of your G chord, and then the C, then move to F, and back. Notice I'm not worried about all the notes. I'm doing a small strum that just occupies the notes required. Technically on the G, you can get a handful of open strings, but all I care about are these 2 with the fingers and maybe another one that I accidentally hit. Then those fingers move 1 string higher into the C chord. With the C as well, you can have that next string open. Then they can move up 1 string higher into the F chord. Same diagonal line. Notice the identity here. On F though, we need to have a pointer here. Once I've put the pointer in there, I'll leave it in the C chord as well. So now I'll include that in this little practice. Here then, I've got the 2 low notes on the diagonal line, the 3 and the 2 on the G chord. I have nothing up here. When we learned G, we had this part of it. Now I'm just playing the bottom part of it. Sounds great. I'll move that to the next string. I'll play 2 to 3 strings. That sounds really nice. Just for comfort, since I already know C well, I'll put the pointer on the 2nd string. Leaving the pointer where it is, I'll move these fingers into F. I'm keeping my strum short to 2 or 3 strings so I can get just the notes I need here. G with nothing on top. C. that would be where I'd start with F. And then of course you can fill out the chords. G could have this pinky on top. C can have the pinky or not. F actually could too. This would be an F add 2. If you like your pinky there, you can leave it. Perhaps you noticed that that sounds a lot like Guns N' Roses' Paradise City. So F could have had that pinky on it. Or you just don't hit that string, or you leave the top string open for a jazzy F major 7. In some situations that works. Or you get good at the actual F. You lay this pointer down. One reason a beginner can't do this is because it requires your hand to work in 2 different ways. You're pushing the pointer down into the fretboard, putting these fingers on and arching them away from the other strings. So how do you simultaneously arch these and flatten that? The answer is twofold. One is your hands actually get used to these things. That finger will get used to pressing while these fingers bend up. The other thing is it's primarily angles. A beginner will try to bar this very flat and on their pads. And now these fingers can't get around it. What you want to do with your bars is get on the edge of the finger. Also, right up to the fret, so you don't have to press very hard. With that finger leaning in on its angle, these two can also lean, and they all push back. That's just a little bit extreme, but that's how you should think of it, that you're barring on this side of your finger on the edge. The other way to get comfortable with it is to place the diagonal. Get your hand out here where your hand is free. Don't be tucked back here. Look at all the freedom I have with this pointer finger now. And I just clamp it down on its side to get my F. Then we had, again, that other F, where we don't move our ring finger, we give it a fatter bottom. We have 4 strings in the middle. Or, watch how I have to get to this bar, rather than squeezing it with my muscle of the finger, whap. I spin my hand to bring the finger from here to here. It's all about angles and leverage. So there's that F. Good notes. Finally, some of your books will tell you to get that finger across all 6 strings, and there's your F. All versions of this F are adequate. If I played 3 strings, that's a legitimate F and you're not losing out. I can add a 4th or a 5th. A 6th with my thumb. This is a Jimi Hendrix way of doing the chord. You do those 5 notes and then the bass with your thumb, or your pointer reaches to do that. One tip here for bar chords. Your book might tell you to squeeze all 6 strings with that finger. I don't do that. I've got my fingertip on this note, and then when I need these top 2 strings with that finger, I whap this knuckle down on those 2 strings. There's a chord, an F chord in bar form. This is called a bar chord because it covers more than 1 string with 1 finger. Here I've got 6 good notes. In theory, this finger is pressing all 6 strings. If I removed these notes though, I'd still have the good notes I wanted and a bunch of junk in the middle, because I'm not wasting pressure in there. I'm not pressing this finger down on 6 strings. I'm pressing it only on the strings I need. The knuckle has these 2 strings and the tip this one at the bottom. So I've got the knuckle and then I hook the end of my finger down for that note. Those bad strings are covered with these fingers. So that's your F bar chord. One last thought about bar chords. Same idea is applying here. I'm not trying to press my finger flat or come around and lean on this edge. I'm leaning on the thumb side edge of that finger and dragging it right to the fret. Notice I've obscured the fret completely. Your finger can overlap because I'm coming up behind the fret and tucking the string in tight against the fret. So when you get the F, even in some form, Then the world is open to you for the key of C, which you probably know is one of the most popular keys for pop music. So we've got C, 3 notes of an F, 4 notes of an F where I lay this finger down, 4 notes in the middle, 5 notes where I lay that finger down, or 6 where I bar. I don't know if you noticed that those all sound very similar. I feel I was a little bit random in this one, but hopefully that will help you toward your F chord. Take it easy, have some fun with that, and allow it to take several months to get good. Let your hand get shaped for it. See you guys later.